Hey, welcome to the Existential Stoic podcast. This is Quick Fix 16. Today we're going to talk about setting goals. I'm Danny. I'm here with Randy.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, Randy. And so just a quick, overview, quick fix. These are short, like less than 10-minute episodes. We'll give you guys some tips focused on one topic. Today is setting goals. So first off, why is setting goals important?
Yeah, well, I like the analogy of the ship. I've heard this time and time again, and people say like a ship, a plane, whatever it is, but the analogy of a ship, like a ship leaving a harbor. If it has no captain and no crew, who knows where it's going to wind up? It'll probably wind up on some beach, a derelict. But if
Yeah.
you have a captain and a crew, 99 times out of 100, you're going to get to your destination. And so, in that example, the captain and the crew is the goals that you're setting. If you have those goals, you're much more likely to hit your mark.
I like that too, because with the ship sort of metaphor or whatever, you get like the idea, like if you don't have any goals, nothing set, society or circumstances are just going to push you this way and that, right? And you'll end up somewhere, but not probably where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also with the airplane analogy, they always talk about how they take off, from Los Angeles going to New York and they're in the direction of New York, but they have to keep changing the direction. So it's kind of like with goals, you kind of have to adapt all the time, improvise and just overcome, but basically keep changing your direction in the general direction of your goal. It's
That you
never
want to
as,
get to.
yeah, because once you set a goal and start working towards it, it gets all squiggly.
Exactly, right? And we need goals. We need goals. We need direction. All right, so let's start. So we each got a few. I'll start because it's my intro day. So my first one is that start small. I was thinking in this sense, like if you're really struggling and you're just starting out, trying to get motivated, trying to sort of develop agency and sort of get to the place you want to be, I think it's important when you're doing that to just start small. Don't try and set yourself a huge goal or like a you set your dream essentially, because it's likely that you're going to get overwhelmed. If you start small and schedule like a small goal like tomorrow or this week, you get a good start, you see some results, and then you start working towards those bigger goals down the road.
Yeah, that's a great one because it's kind of like the idea behind the debt snowball or something where you build up those big wins in the beginning and then they compound on each other and then you start getting momentum, and then once you have momentum behind you, then you can really accomplish the larger goals. But really getting out there and doing those things you can do today, the smaller goals, that really gives you the momentum.
Yeah, and that's like true for everything in life, right? It is, everything's like a snowball. Once you get going on it, you see progress and things pick up.
Hmm. Great. So my first one is this is borrowed from Brian Tracy's book Goals. I was reading that book and this was suggested in there and it was so outlandish that I was like, what the heck, I'll give it a try. So he says,
Why not?
why not? What have I got to lose? So he says, write down a list of 100 goals. Okay. Don't accomplish them, make plans to do them. Just write down a list of 100 goals, and then you'll be shocked with how quickly you start achieving them. And so like this is something that's kind of outlandish because most of us don't even put our goals down on paper. And we've talked about this
Yeah,
before, how just putting something down on paper makes it 40% more likely to happen. So
yeah,
writing out
like
writing out
crazy
a
not to.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So writing out 100 goals is actually very challenging. Like it probably took me about an hour, maybe even more to do this because the first 20 or 30 goals, you're like, oh yeah, got this, not a problem, got this. And then all of a sudden you're like at goal 46 and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? And then
well, 100 anything's almost hard to list, right? I mean, I think it's interesting, but yeah, that's an interesting just thing to do though. Like, can I come up with 100 things that I would want, or like things that I would plan for? I mean, that's kind of interesting because it's just asking you to really think about like what's all this stuff that you actually like, things that you really want in your life. Can you think
mhm.
of all of them now and put them down? And yeah, like you said too. I mean, we've said it time and again. Like just writing it down has a huge impact on actually whether or not you succeed. So it totally makes sense to do that. Plus, it gets you thinking about what you want in a way that's really like almost like brainstorming, right? You're just throwing everything out there, and
Mhm.
some of it's probably going to be dead on.
Yeah. And so like I already know that some of them have already transpired and even more quickly than I thought they would have. But
Hmm,
that's in an old journal. So I plan to look at it next year and kind of see how far along I am. Like try and instead
that's
of
cool.
100, figure out what percentage I've accomplished just without even trying, not
Uh,
consciously trying.
that's cool. I'm gonna have to try that and see how it goes. That's a
Mhm.
good idea. I like that one. All right, my next one is so this is similar to kind of what we said in the intro, but remember goals are plastic. So I think people get fixated on, like, they make a goal and they get fixated on that goal. But as we progress over time, everything changes, life changes. We talked about this in our episode of Paradoxes, right? Where the only constant in life is change. And so you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared to make modifications along your way, because also the other side of that too is once you achieve a goal, you're going to have some other goal beyond that, right? So you need to be flexible and need to be ready to sort of work on something new or work out something new.
Yeah, that's a really great one because they talk about this a lot. Is you need to know the why, but not the how. So, like when what you're saying there with plasticity is you need to know why you want that goal, but not exactly how you're going to get it because the how is going to change, and the how is oftentimes very dependent upon external things, whereas the why is like very internal. So that's something in your control. The external stuff you just have to adapt and deal with the plasticity like you're talking about.
No, yeah, it makes total sense. I like the way you said that too.
Oh, thank you. So my second one, and this is a daily exercise that I do, is write down your daily top 10 goals with a time frame that you want to achieve them. So every day I write down and do this from memory. Like don't look back from the previous day and try and figure out which ones you did.
Yeah.
So like this is something where every day I write down my top 10 goals. And usually the top 3 or 4 are kind of the same exact things. But then after that, the dates will change and the
Yeah.
exact order of
Right.
them will change. And then sometimes I'll forget completely what I was doing. But it's kind of just a daily refresher of this is what I'm working towards. This is when I want to accomplish it by. So it gets it ingrained in your head. And like I know one of them was a big goal for me that I thought I wouldn't achieve until October. And it's something that's already happened by March. And this is a practice that I probably started in January. So like just doing this, having the daily reaffirmation is something that definitely gets driven a lot more quickly.
I like that. Yeah, I do a practice where I write them down weekly, and I do like 5 that I focus on. But I like that idea because kind of without looking back or anything, you're kind of, in a way, you're kind of also almost like reimagining them every time, sort of, and then
Mhm.
your timeline. So it's like constantly sort of working towards it, but also keeping it on your mind every day. I like that idea because it will help you achieve it, right? It
Mhm.
makes total sense. That's a good one. Yeah, and I think what was I gonna say? Yeah, I like it though. Happens. All right, my last one though. So this last one is a little different. So this is really about focus. I think um a lot of times with goal setting and goal writing, we talk about lots of goals and having, like, listing all your dreams. And I think sometimes too, it's important to have a focus, almost like an overarching goal or an overarching thing that you want or you're working towards. And so in this case, it's like less is more, having something well defined, a clear goal that allows you to really focus your daily routine and your long-term plan, like 10-year, 15-year, 20-year. What do I want and how am I going to get there? And then, like, you have intermediary goals and stuff like that. But I think that's very helpful too, just to get focused in your life and clear direction.
Yeah, that's such an essential point of goals. Like, I mean, it's been mentioned time and time again because it is so essential. Like, it's from City Slickers, where the
Oh
the
yeah,
cow
yeah, yeah,
he's like this
yeah.
one
One thing.
thing. Yeah. So like one thing is important, but there's also that book, The One Thing. There's also the acronym follow one course until successful. But it makes sense because our brains can only handle so much. And I heard it like the time when I heard it, when it really impacted me, was by Naval Ravikant, where he said that, all of us are focused on so many problems that we never get anything accomplished. And he's like, when you do that, you're just wasting your resources and everything. He's like, take one problem and that you're allowed to get upset over and to work towards and whatever. Everything else, just let it go. It's like the same thing that the cowboy says from City Slickers, but in a different way, that resonated with me. And I started doing that, and I just made, anything financial related, that was my problem for 1 year.
Oh,
and
that's a good idea. Yeah.
and then everything else, as soon as I remembered that that wasn't my problem, I would let it go. And so like that allowed me to make such a monumental progress in finances in just 1 year, uh, as opposed to when I'd be worried about finances, and then I'd be worried about how I feel, and then I'd be worried about, how people are treating me and all these other things. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you get
So
all over the place. And it makes sense too, because it's like, it gives everything else purpose and meaning by having a main focus, right? It gives all of your actions, I think, it makes everything else easier to deal with, the struggles, the burdens, everything else along the way. Yeah.
yeah, it's such a good one. So my last one is, when you're setting goals, uh, think of what would you do if you could not fail. So this is something that I always do when I'm setting goals, is have the thought, what if I couldn't fail? What would I do then? Because so many of us go into goal setting like we look at people like Jeff Bezos, and he built Amazon, and we're
Yeah.
like, oh, I wish I could do that. And then we go and set goals, and we're like, oh, maybe get a 5% raise. And and it's like, you can never build an Amazon if you don't believe you can. So like, it really, when you're goal setting, you have to go into it with, what would I do if I couldn't fail? Like, if success was guaranteed, it doesn't matter how hard it is, it doesn't matter how long it takes. If success was guaranteed, what would I actually do? Would it be build an Amazon, or would it be go travel to the Amazon and live with the indigenous people? Like, you don't have to. And a big misconception, I think, with setting goals is people think they have to have these great business goals. Like, everybody thinks they have to be an entrepreneur nowadays.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
that's like, oh, I have to start my own business. I have to, so I can post my Instagram pics and show everybody I'm doing better than everybody else, drive a Bentley. And it's like, we're actually reading a book right now that they talk about this in a really great way.
Yeah.
How they're saying how our personal goals and our cultural goals are completely different. So if you take a look at commercials, and I think this is Martha Beck's new book, but if you take a look at commercials and the stuff they advertise you, it's like a completely opposite from what you actually want yourself. But it's not until you kind of sit down and realize this that that you notice it, because everything we're marketed towards is like this big audacious goal, but oftentimes what we really want is like comfort and love
Well, that's just,
and feeling good.
yeah. I think that's just it, right? We get this thing in our head that we need these huge, right? Like big statements of our dreams and stuff, when that's not even actually what the person wants. And I think that's crucial. Like, but you're all right though. You need the confidence to go for it, and you should be willing to take risks and take a chance on yourself. And that will get you there. And I think that's a great one. It's a great point.
Yeah.
Good. There's a good list, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I like it.
I like it too. So that's setting goals. Our quick fix number 16. If you guys like the show, please like us, follow us, subscribe, whatever it is. We're on, if you listen on podcasts, check us out on YouTube and vice versa. We'll be back with a full length episode and another quick fix next week. All right. Later, Andy.
Later, Danny.